Eternals is the latest superhero release from Disney and Marvel Studios, and this time around it's directed by Chinese filmmaker and recent Academy Award winner Miss Chloe Zhao. This is the newest entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it features one of the arguably biggest ensemble of actors this entire year, as we've got Gemma Chan, Richard Madden, Kumail Nanjiani, Leah McHugh, Don Lee, Salma Hayek, Angelina Jolie, amongst a few other big names as well. Eternals introduces us to the epinous, immortal, and superpowered alien race who are now coming out of hiding on Earth after their ancient counterparts, the Deviants, once again emerge from their presumed exile. The 10 Eternals, Ajax, Cersei, Icarus, Kingo, Sprite, Phastos, Makari, Druid, Gilgamesh, and Thena, are separated around the 1500s after killing off the last of the Deviants due to differing opinions about their continued responsibilities and their relationship with humankind. Some argue they could aid them, while others insist they're forbidden from ever interfering with any of their conflicts. Now, the team must reunite after 500 years across the planet as the Deviants begin hunting them down one by one. To start, I want to make clear that this is a juggernaut of a film project, even by Marvel standards. This was one of my most anticipated movies this year, as I think Zhao's Nomadland will arguably go down as one of the best films of the 2020s decade. And here you've also got a fully star-studded cast with a huge range of actors, so there is some considerable potential working together here. And with that said, Eternals doesn't disappoint. For the most part. There's a lot to talk about with this one, so let's just break things down a little bit with the structure of Eternals and what Zhao was tasked to do here. This is a huge risk-taker movie in that if you really place yourself in Zhao's shoes, she as a director is being asked to fulfill an enormous checklist for Marvel. In that to-do list, she has to introduce the Eternals, the Celestials, and the Deviants, and provide all three of their backstories. She has to give all 10 new characters proper screen time and differentiate them all enough to give them their own identity, make them memorable. Then you've got to write a solid screenplay for these characters to talk and interact with one another, and in so doing, moving the story naturally along. And then you've got to do all of that while making it entertaining, understandable for the general audience, and if you're a director that does have passion into filmmaking, making your own legacy, giving it a director's touch. So Eternals is a behemoth of a project to tackle on, no matter who Marvel decided to choose as the director here. But even though Eternals is an ambitious project, Zhao was able to pull it off by deconstructing the superhero genre norms into a film that focuses in depth on its characters, their relationships with each other and with humanity, to bring about many themes surrounding existentialism. The Eternals are beings that are showcased to pretty much live in an extenuated state of anguish as they must bear witness to their actions, or lack of, and the resulting repercussions that they have to deal with afterwards. Zhao introduces us to some of the most emotionally turmoiled characters Marvel has yet to produce, because all of them face issues that all of us can relate to. She conveys heavy subject matters like hopelessness, alienation, authenticity and purpose, free will, as well as more conventional themes like love, trust, and building bonds. This is a Marvel movie that is for once so focused on its characters and their relationships, their struggles, their endurance. And it largely works, but some of the intermittent flashback scenes could have been better executed for a greater effect, namely the Hiroshima scene, in which it felt too rushed to really drive home the sense of despair that Phastos, the tech-savvy Eternal, had to succumb. And all the main actors here do a fantastic performance. Thena is brilliantly portrayed by Jolie as a battle-born warrior who sometimes goes on friendly fire mode. Kingo is a hilarious scene stealer with one of the coolest looking powers to shoot cosmic energy from his fingertips. Gilgamesh is a chivalrous Mike Tyson who is a bigger simp than Jay Gatsby. Sprite is just annoying. They should have tossed her out a few centuries ago. Cersei is the much needed, emphatic, and courageous leader. Ajax is the mother, or rather grandmother, of the group. Icarus is the powerful Superman doppelganger who pulls off an Iron Giant move. Phastos is an eloquent and reserved mastermind with a Darth Vader transitioning moment. Druid is the angsty Linkin Park fan who just always looks confused and lost. And Makari is the optimistic, silent speed assassin. 10 characters with 10 distinguishable personalities. That's a feat worthy of recognition. Now, on the other hand, the Celestials and the Deviants could have used some work. While the Deviants themselves are nightmarish in design and look amazingly gritty, their role here always felt super underwhelming, especially after the reveal of their true purpose. I think in general, a scene in which Cersei speaks with the Celestia Arasham and you get a giant dumpage of information was handled poorly. Because after that one scene, the Deviants sort of become unimportant? That's probably the best word to use, honestly, because the narrative shift is so huge from the Deviants' attacks to the Celestials' intentions that the Deviants become irrelevant. Even though the movie spends a considerable amount of time building their lore up, as well as even giving one Deviant a humanoid transformation that I really enjoyed. I thought they were going to do more with that, but no, because now they have figuratively and quite literally bigger problems to deal with. The Celestial focus leads the story into a wishy-washy final act where there's so much going on that it ultimately dwarfs a lot of the impact that the Eternals had established over the past couple of hours. But even with some narration juggling issues, Eternal manages to be a proper disruptor to the Marvel movie expectations. The tone throughout this project is significantly more cultivated, serious, and consequential, on par with Captain America: The Civil War. The action sequences are brisk, breakneck, and full of detail, though they are sometimes on the shorter end. Even I admit I would have liked to see a little bit more combinations of the team working together. Ben Davis's cinematography provides a certain depth and scale to the more important scenes, especially in the IMAX format which I saw it in, and as well as adding in careful and delicate lighting choices in the more darker scenes, like when they're in the forest. There's a handful of emotionally charged moments that work adroitly, like the death of a certain Eternal and others' reactions to learning of their passing, or when Icarus is for once overpowered by the main Deviant to the point where he's on the ground fighting for his life for a few brief seconds that really feel like a minute of endless struggling. Zhao understands that she has to enable checks and balances in Marvel. There's definitely a few spots in this 2.5-hour runtime that the movie slows down too drastically a bit, to the point of being a dead spot, but it never manages to forthright become boring. Eternals is not unstimulating on any merit. This is no Suicide Squad 2016, which did the exact same thing of introducing 6 new characters and barely managed to give 2 an actual personality. I don't know if we watched the same movie or if film critics were just expecting another formulaic Marvel entry, but I think this is one of the better turning points for the MCU with the aid of Zhao's craftsmanship for creating genuine interpersonal moments and maintaining a mood of forlornness without shoehorning a comic relief joke right after something bad happens. I promise you can have a serious scene go longer than 15 seconds without throwing a hee-haw joke in there. So with all that said, I give Eternals comfortable 7.5, 8. Go see it if you haven't already, make your own decision on it, but I do think this is a breath of fresh air to add into the MCU's perpetually routine style of filmmaking. Until next time, guys.